Now, a bit of surprise, the market down today. I mean, contrary to expectations, at least what I got from the two analysts this morning. What's your take on what's going on? Profit taking, investors cautious?
Well, I'll prefer to move to the side of caution on the side of investors, especially when you think about it that we've got some very interesting results from Nigerian breweries. And in spite of that, the share price did not react positively. But it also tells you that as we move closer to the last, 8 weeks or 7 weeks of the year, there's a need to start to take positions. Perhaps where there are Q3 results that are positive, you find a lot more investors having taken positions in there, and there's perhaps little more resources to spread out to other parts of the market.
Well, Boyega, let's talk about the results that came out on the market today. Like you mentioned, Nigerian Breweries, they come up. But first, let's talk about First Bank. I mean, we saw that bank report a 48% rise in profit before tax. What's your take on those results?
Well, it's interesting. I was having a look at it earlier. If you look at the top line, gross earnings increased by just 19%. So clearly what has transpired to give you the 48% rise has been relative efficiency in terms of their cost of funds, because net interest margin was up about 54. And it's not surprising for a bank the size of First Bank with its balance sheet to be able to pull that off. Note also that quite a few of its subsidiaries in the course of this year are being hived off. You'll see those details in the figures. And they're just going to be separate from the bank in terms of reporting line, and that's beginning to show some degree of efficiency with the bank itself.
And Nigerian Breweries also released their results on the market today. Now, it may come as a surprise, but Nigerian Breweries is actually topping the losers list, down 5 naira 95 kobo. But looking at those results, gross earnings up 23%, PBT down 2%. What's your take, Boyega?
Well, it's their costs, clearly, in spite of the revenues going up the way it did. It's an industry where there's a lot that's been spent in terms of advertising and distribution. It's been pretty much challenging because a whole swath of the country where Nigerian Breweries products may have been going to, and that's the north, has had its challenges with security concerns. This may have had its effect on costs, even if top-line revenues were to rise. I also think investors may have felt that there may be a demand for the stock given the results, and therefore you had an increase in supply of stock available.
Now, very quickly, Boyega, I just want to quickly ask you, we're having Femi Oladehin in later on today to talk about the cement sector, but what's your take on the cement sector results that we've seen so far? I mean, Ashaka Cement released their results. We also had Lafarge Wapco. What's your take on those results and, of course, the whole health of the sector going forward?
Well, I think what we're seeing from the cement sector is a result of the sort of investments that took place last year, the year before. We're beginning to see those results now. But even as I had felt last year, there's still a lot more to come from the cement sector. Federal government is taking its hands off power now. That should mean there are enough funds for infrastructure. And when you think about it, power was always a major issue, and everybody asking, what's the government doing with power? If there's greater efficiency next year, the next question is going to be, what are you doing about the roads, the bridges, and other infrastructure? And that's where the critical demand for cement is going to come in. As you may know, we've got less than 30% of our road network paved, so there's a lot to be done in that area. There's still a dearth of significant infrastructure which we need in the environment. That's going to take on some, and not to talk of housing. So the demand is there. We've got the limestone deposits, there's gypsum, so there's a lot to actually expand in terms of production capacity locally. I expect to see demand for cement rising as we move into 2013.
That's interesting, Boyega. Well, what's your outlook for the markets? I mean, going into the rest of the week, do you expect this bearish trend that we saw today, this bearish performance continue during the course of the week? Do you expect investors to continue to play the market cautiously?
Well, the expectations as we start to get a few more Q3 results that are outside the banking industry, we'll start to feel a pulse on the rail sector and what's going on. The investors will start to firm up their positions. There's a lot expected for banks year-end in terms of corporate action, so I believe some position has been taken there. And what we may see for the rest of the year may just be shifting or tightening up positions. I don't see too much of a rise between now and the end of the year. We are probably just about the 26,000 points on the index. We will probably not top the 30,000. We won't reach the 30,000 mark, but I imagine we'll get past the 27,500 mark on the ASI.
I mean, in terms of your outlook for Q4, I mean, a lot of analysts say in Q4 or year to date, we're going to see the NSE close the year at around 32%. What's your take? I mean, is that too big, too small?
Well, from where we are right now, it's a good enough target to aim at. But again, I think it's going to be a bit dampened because of the caution we will see from investors. I think about 30, 31 is more like where we will be, thereabout.